Hi, everybody, and this is Jason Major with another episode of the Biblical Cinematic Universe. Today, I want to talk to you about Noah's Ark, silent and talkie film from 1928-1930, which, as of this writing, was free on Tubi in Canada and 2024. Might be able to find it online. Tell you a little bit about this movie. So, this is Noah's Ark from 1930 is a combination of kind of like a silent film and a talkie film, and so it was kind of in that era where they were just transitioning into movies that could talk, you know what I mean? So there are large chunks of this film that's just a silent film, and then it's almost like they added some scenes that did have some talking parts into it. The film, although it is part of the Biblical Cinematic Universe, back in the old days, and they did this again with Cecil B. DeMille's Noah's Ark. Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandment movie. Is that there's like a parallel story that takes place kind of in the present to the Bible story, and so. I'm going to talk mostly about the Bible story, but I will tell you a little bit about the present story. So the present story takes place of these two brothers who are kind of wandering around Europe. I won't spoil why. And then they meet this German girl and also another guy who's reading his Bible, minister of some sort, or just a religious man reading a Bible, as well as a Russian spy. On this train, and then they get a train wreck, and then the one guy falls in love with the girl, and as they take refuge at this one place, and then later on, the two brothers, one brother decides to go into World War I, believing it's his responsibility. The second one, who was more not interested in that kind of thing, kind of feels accountable later on, changes his mind, joins the war. And then I don't want to spoil all the surprises because there's a lot of, just as this original story they created, there's a lot of cool drama, and then I just wasn't expecting what was going to happen. But eventually we do get into World War I, and then toward the end, the last 30 minutes or so, that's when you get back into the Noah's Ark story. Now, at the beginning of the film, they did show a scene from Noah's Ark being the rainbow, which is kind of funny. It's like they show the ending first, but I guess most people know Noah's Ark story. They showed the rainbow, but kind of showing like how there was Noah's Ark, and then there was people who went into greed, like the Tower of Babel, and then modern day, which there's still that greed there. And so there's this parallel story, which is really well done, and I like the acting, and I thought was really just nail-biting in some senses, because you don't know who's going to live and who's going to die, and you don't know how it's going to end, and it's not. The interesting thing about that first part is that it's not a strict allegory. It's, in other words, it's not like, well, we're going to tell a story of just of a boat and people on a boat that's going to sink, or we're going to tell a story of a flood in the modern day. No, it's like this other completely parallel story, but like with the themes still resonant from Noah's Ark, with the idea that the judgment of God happened with Noah's Ark, and the judgment continues. Man continues to bring judgment upon themselves by turning away from God and having these wars, like in World War I. It was really cool. Now that brings us to the Noah's Ark portion itself, and wow, like they went big budget on this. They went big scale. I wish you could see this in color or in 4K, but you're gonna have to find it in black and white. And there's just a great scale to it. They basically had this idea of the side story of King Nephilim, the word Nephilim taken from the giants. There were giants there of old, and so. But I've never really pictured the idea that the king that existed before now, because you don't really picture like real civilizations out before the flood, right? You picture like more like before the flood it was all barbarians or something. This one is an actual civilization with statues and giant statues and all that, and what I don't know what kind of what they were taking from, maybe a little bit of Babylonian, I don't know, but the idea is that this King Nephilim worship a god called Jagluff. I don't even know if that's a real god. False god, I mean. But it then kidnaps Japheth, the son of Noah, and his bride, and they're going to make his bride into a virgin sacrifice. Now, without spoiling the movie, because you gotta see this for yourself, because of the epic scale, and they're taking liberties, but like telling you a story about like the last days of a man before the time Noah. There are some nods to, like, throwing in a little sprinkling of the Samson story, not Delilah, but Samson. A little bit of the Samson story is in there. Definitely the Ten Commandments, in the way that Moses was approached by God. Noah is a similar approach by God, literally on a mountain. There's a cool like rock Bible, meaning like the mountain like forms like a giant Bible made of rock that tells him like the message of like what he's supposed to do. And then the animals is like are in here still, but that's the thing, is a lot of these Noah's Ark stories, which you'll find later, they just emphasize about the animals being saved and then they're on the ark and that's it. This emphasizes about like humanity was like at its last end, and this King Nephilim like is basically responsible for mankind being judged, and Noah being the only one faithful to Jehovah at this time. And then what was really cool was when you do get to these flood scenes, they are epic, and it's clear that from historical records, from what I looked up, that they had to change the safety regulations because of the way they film these flood scenes. But they're like awesome flood scenes, and there's a lot of miniatures and backdrops that are probably used as well. But I thought that it's all held up even by 2024 standards for me, as someone who's a film buff. There was so much coolness when the way they designed actual flood coming in and destroying statues and destroying cities and everything else, and it was just like really epic to behold. Again, the animals are only a minor player, but they are in there at least. There are like more than one or two animals. There is animals on there. It's just that they're kind of like called at the end. And then you do have the flood, and then it flashes back and ends that World War I story that we're looking at. And there's some cool moments that I will not give it away in this video review because I just thought they were spiritually significant of how they do certain scenes with the interpretation of Noah and his sons getting on the ark that were just like, wow, that's cool how they did that. I thought this was excellent. I wish that someone had taken this story from at least the Noah's Ark portion and made that into a Noah's Ark film, which we have not seen yet, because we've only have really the Arfonsky version and a couple miniseries, which they're nothing like this. This is actually, I would say, is up there with the Bible 1960s movie for best Noah's Ark movie ever. Probably, and I'm not kidding on that. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, and only because Cecil B. DeMille did his silent version of the Ten Commandments, which you got to give that like a 9 for sure. I mean, which is different than the 50s one, of course. But I highly recommend, if you're a film buff, watching this movie and enjoying the story that goes with it. Whether you are watching even just Noah's Ark portion or the entire thing, you're going to find a really great classic film which should be preserved for history. Jason Major, talking about the biblical semantic universe. Take care. Bye.